Hello, welcome back to our live stream here from the Regional Emergency Operations Center. I'm Eric Thompson, and just back from being on location where I managed to pick up one of those, and that is our portable desk that we had. That is a kit from the Salvation Army, and it's for anyone who's returning to home if they have any challenges with their house something they might need to clean up. So I wanted to bring that back here to show you, and probably kind of buried or hidden there. But anyway, so we've just been in Summerland. If you haven't joined or just joining us now, the evacuation order has been downgraded, as you probably know, for Trout Creek, and it's really important to note that change in the evacuation order is for Trout Creek east of Highway 97. And I've just learned upon arrival back from Summerland that the Voyant alert message that went out had a comma in it, and it said Trout Creek, comma, this is what I've heard, Trout Creek, comma, east side of Highway 97. So some people did take that to mean that it was all of Trout Creek. And certainly on behalf of the RDOS, we'd like to apologize, and the District of Summerland, for that. I don't know what you'd call that. It's an error, basically, and it's kind of a communications thing that people talk about, where it's important where the comma is. So certainly that has been fixed or is being fixed. I do apologize on behalf of the organization for that, and the District of Summerland as well. And certainly it's a learning moment, and it's something that happens when a lot of things are happening all at once. So please, I don't know what I can say, but we'll work to make sure that doesn't happen again. We were able to go live from a remote location, which for us, testing this technology was quite a thing to be able to do. It was interesting to be at the temporary access pass checkpoint. Not a lot of people there today, but it was pretty steady, and I've had a chance now to speak with some of the councillors and the mayor from the District of Summerland and hear some of their feedback, and that's really been helpful. We learned there's a bear moving through the neighborhood in Trout Creek, and I think that's a really important point for anyone. When you do go back to your property, when these evacuation orders are downgraded to an alert, that's one thing you'll have to keep in mind, is that with that fire, animals are on the move, and with people not being in the neighborhoods, they're moving into some of the neighborhoods. But it's a problem we can deal with because we do know they're there a lot anyway, but definitely something to keep in mind. There was a process, and it's going on right now. If you're watching this live at 4:07 on August the 14th, the process for anyone returning home in Trout Creek is simply just go home. But if you'd like to stop by Trout Creek Elementary, you'll see staff there, Councillor Trainer and Barkwell and Mayor Holmes were there, and some other councillors as well, just talking to people. And a lot of them know each other, and they're just answering questions and directing them to staff if they have any more questions, if they need some help or assistance. There's some forms there, which I grabbed. I don't know where I put them. Here they are. And this information will be made available to anyone who is returning home. And we'll talk more at 6 o'clock with Graham Stadd about this return to home plan, the staged return to home reentry. So some of the items you'll receive when you head back to your home is the returning home after an evacuation pamphlet. There is the reentry guide as well, and this one is for Trout Creek East, so there will be one for each area. There is a boil water notice in effect right now for anyone returning home to Trout Creek. I did have a chance to go downtown very briefly into downtown Summerland. I took a look around. It was eerie because it's quiet. Canada Task Force 1 was there, lots of emergency professionals working, and it was an opportunity to see downtown firsthand. I did take some pictures, and I'll work on getting those out when I can, but right now the real focus is getting people home. So those of you who are living in other areas, I want you to know that the work continues. It's staged. As soon as other people can get into their areas, they will, and I appreciate your patience, and I understand that it's frustrating, especially, you're watching other people go home and wondering when you'll be home. So anytime we get that information, as soon as it becomes available, we'll start talking at 6 o'clock with Graham and Deborah, the EOC directors, about what the plan looks like, because people want specifics, and I understand that. So we'll get as much information out as we can, and we'll do that right here live. We'll also have information posted on the website. Remember, rdos.bc.ca for any information you're looking for. That links to the reentry kit on the District of Summerland webpage, or you can go directly to the District of Summerland webpage. It's been quite a couple of days now since Friday, just after 5:30, when this wildfire broke out. And for us here at the Regional District of Okanagan-Similkameen, working with so many different partners throughout the region here in the Regional Emergency Operations Center, we started this live stream so that collectively we can confirm information, work on the plans, get the information out. And I think it's been fairly effective. The feedback that we've received has been amazing, and it's really been helpful real time. We've got some technical advice earlier during our live stream that was on from the parking lot at the grocery store and the plaza in Summerland. So that was certainly helpful. The kit you see behind me, I'll open it up maybe a little bit later on, but it's got supplies in it. It's hard to say what you're going to find when you go home. That was donated by the Salvation Army. They dropped off a bunch of kits. So there's a whole bunch of them at Trout Creek Elementary, and I wanted to grab one to just show you what it looks like and let you know they are available. It'll be first come, first serve. And I'm sure if they ran out and people needed them, you could talk to the Salvation Army, or we could certainly do that here at the Regional Emergency Operations Center. But it's got a mop in it and different things like that. So things that you might need. Hopefully you don't need it. But I thought it was very nice that the Salvation Army made those available. They brought in a pallet, apparently, to Trout Creek Elementary School because there were quite a few of them. And they will move then to the next location when that area opens up, and we'll find out what that is at 6 o'clock with Graham. So quite a whirlwind. The temporary access permits have been going well. I did hear from, I was speaking with Councillor Barkwell when I stopped on my way heading back here from Summerland. I spoke to him outside the school, and he has a rural property with horses, and he knows a lot of the farmers. His family's been in this area for many, many years, and certainly there is some frustration with farmers on how the whole process works when they're on an evacuation order. What does it look like to get back to their homes? And that kind of feedback is vital, and I think it's important that during after action reviews, which you do emergency, you get together as a group and internally and hear from members of the public a lot of times as well, and you gather that information that many of us have already heard, and you put that together and try and come up with ways to improve the system. And also, I think it's important to have conversations about what an evacuation order looks like when it comes to certain sectors. I had a chance to speak with Len, who I've known for many years. Len, his family runs Summerland Suites, and it's interesting. We live in a small town, Summerland, and many of you live in rural Summerland in electoral area F or anywhere around here. Likely people that live there, you work with them maybe in Penticton, and so it's a small area with lots of people interacting with each other. So I've known Len for a long time, and I saw him. He was going into the temporary access permit or pass rather checkpoint, and then they check in on the way out as well, which was a really orderly process. And all the people working at that site, they were based out of the mobile command and mobile EOC command, are doing a great job. But anyway, I talked to Len and I asked him how things were going, and he gave me a little bit of information, and I said, can I share that with people? And he said, yes. So they've got 200 tubs of ice cream that melted. So I jokingly asked if I could have that for a milkshake, but certainly products like that will have to be disposed of. And otherwise, he said things are good. And that's really nice. So he's got some closure on what the situation is. And that's why it is so important during these times when it's safe and when people can get into their area to take care of what they need to. And I appreciate there's people who are frustrated who can't. But those are the conversations I think we need to have in local government. And I think it's important to be honest about what can and can't be done, and then provide the rationale for why. And I work in communications. I've been in communications here since 2018, started in emergency communications. I'm with the organization in many capacities. And one thing I'm hearing more and more is people, they don't just want information, they want something behind it. So what's the rationale? And then I think it's important. That's why people have asked me why I'm saying some of the things I'm saying, and I'm being quite honest, but we need to have a civil discussion. We need to be able to communicate back and forth in a way that allows us to take some feedback and then provide some answers and information versus people getting really upset and mad. And one thing I've learned is that there's a lot of frustration with certain situations, and it's people just need to be heard. And I think that's important. I've learned a lot through the last 7 days. I can tell you, you've seen me here on this live stream more than you will probably see me in a while, because I don't plan to be on here for multiple hours every day. I can tell you that, because it's been a long haul. But I want to tell you, I've been happy to do it because it needed to get done, because people wanted information. We started it. You start something, you got to finish it. I had a plan, an exit strategy right from the beginning. Once it started, I knew that there would be a cycle. And for me, that is 7 o'clock this evening here on Friday. And then on Saturday, my colleague Tracy, whom you met earlier, will take over and do 2 updates. Unless things change, of course, she'll be on the air here. So that'll be 2 o'clock. and 6 o'clock with our regular updates, the BC Wildfire update at 2, and our EOC Director update at 6. And we find those are very helpful. But again, if things change, we'll be back on the air. So, yeah, I think that's basically all I've got to say for now. I don't see anyone on the chat. I think everyone is now at the point where we're less interested in minute-by-minute information and really interested in the bigger picture of when can I get home. Aaron provided an excellent update from BC Wildfire, Aaron Catherall, on what the latest information is on the fire. And I think because we've been on this live stream for so long and people have been tuned in, I'd like to assume, if I can, that people have a better understanding of the jurisdictions and the authority of local government and how that works as opposed to what BC Wildfire does and the other partners. Because early on, we were getting comments where people would ask something like, what's the fire doing? And then I would say, well, that's BC Wildfire. Like BC Wildfire has that information, but what you can do is go to the website, bcwildfire.ca. And then you would have learned that BC Wildfire usually updates their website a couple times a day because things are changing constantly, but they want to provide an update. And I'm not speaking on their behalf, but just letting you know that what they're doing is providing a couple of operational updates each day. And there's a lot that goes into that, and they have to be accurate. And then, BC Wildfire talks about the number of aircraft in the sky, and then people are asking how many are there. And I can see why people would want to know, because they want to make sure that all available assets are fighting that fire. But, I think you have to respect the process that there's a lot of moving parts. And then we've got Ministry of Transportation and Transit, and opening the highway was a real joint effort. RCMP are involved, and I had a chance now to drive on the highway a couple times just today, and I was really impressed. I got to say, I think I tend to sometimes feel a little bit as though people might not be so cooperative, but everybody was driving the speed limit. There are it's 70 through the closure area, but some areas go down to 50, and you'll see crews on the road, and it's really important that people drive at a reasonable speed so that nobody gets hurt, especially those crews. And you'll see security and RCMP. And the RCMP were very active and will remain active. It's important for those of you to know as well that the highway into Trout Creek will be open. So at night, the road closure doesn't happen because Trout Creek is not under an evacuation order. So the roadblock now moves up to Arkell. So if you're looking to get north, that's where the roadblock stops. And those of you in this area will know where that is. And it runs again. The highway's open right now. It will be between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. and it will be staged. So if you're there at 7:01, there's a good chance you're not going to get through. So they're having it staged so that you get to that closure area before that time, and then you'll have to turn around. Again, be patient and please try to respect the process. What else can I share with you? I'm just going to do a quick update here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the stream for a little bit, and then I've got a meeting, a really important meeting that I have to go to, and as part of our planning each day, that's part of my role and part of people working in the information section that we meet with others here in the organization to look at our operational period for the next while. So that'll be a lot focused on what's happening tomorrow, and then out of that meeting at 6 o'clock, I'll be able to talk a bit more with Graham and with Deborah about what that staged re-entry looks like. So I think that'll be really good. And I know that's the information you want. If you're not at home, you want to be home. But I think this process, we're about as transparent as we can be. Real-time information, trying to get better at making sure that you have a reason and a rationale. And if somebody provides that for you and you don't agree or you don't like it, let's have a conversation. Do we have some solutions? Let's try to fix it. And yeah, that's it. So those of you who are returning home online on the District of Summerland website, for those of you who are in the District of Summerland area, and then there will be separate kits like this, guides rather, for each area, including electoral area F, and that'll give you some specifics for the reentry guide, but it is online. So if you're in an evacuation order area right now and you're not home, take the time to read it. Trust me, because you'll see some information in there that might raise some questions. And if you're not getting the information you need, that's a chance to continually upgrade and improve this so that people do get the questions answered that they have. And what it says here right now is that your neighborhood is currently under an evacuation alert. And what does that mean? So Trout Creek, as with many other areas, was on an evacuation order, which means you have to leave the area. And now that it's been downgraded to an alert, that means that you're still on alert. You do have to be prepared in case conditions change. And of course, we all hope that's not going to happen. But as Aaron said today, it's very dry out there, and we do have to always be watching not just this wildfire, but anything else that could happen. But anyway, be prepared to leave your property, have an evacuation plan, and then prepare your grab and go kit. I'm going to review this myself because I think it's really good information. There's a basic reentry kit, and then there's the hazards as well that you need to know about. I'm going to pause for just a moment if you don't mind. I've received a phone call, and sometimes I get a call from somebody where I'm going to get some really good information, and I'm going to just double check that, and I'll be right back with you. I'm just going to test the audio. Let me know if the audio has been muted, because that'll be really helpful. going till 7 o'clock tonight. And then you know what I'm going to do at 7 o'clock? I'm going to go and sit down. Been a long, busy day. All right. I was just talking to one of the councillors from the District of Summerland, and I heard that if you're in the Trout Creek area, the area that now has been downgraded from an order to an alert, you have to flush your water. You need these garbage pickup. It's going to be Saturday, so the 15th of August, and then another garbage pickup on Tuesday. So that's breaking news for me anyway, is Saturday and Tuesday garbage pickup, and you got to flush your water. I'm going to a meeting I just had a quick snack. I'm going to a meeting here in a couple of minutes, and this is a little device I showed you. It's not an advertisement. It's just more of, for me, I'm in awe of the fact that you can have a little camera that small and you could live stream from that. So that's what basically people can do now is, they can, well, it's not that easy. I mean, you have to have a cell phone and stuff, but it's pretty neat that you can have a little device just like that, and you can go live and with your phone and be able to, in theory, live stream. It's kind of neat, but we're not there yet. We'll try and get through the rest of the day first. Okay, I'm going to, at this point, sign off for a little bit while I go to this meeting, and I'll try and come back to us just after 5, but certainly I will be back at 6 for that update with our directors to talk a bit more about what's happening. And I know that anyone who is watching this will want to know what's going on with their property as far as the re-entry. It's a staged re-entry, so we'll ask Graham a bit more about what that means, what the timelines are that we can provide to you, and then also what continues on with the with those temporary access passes as well for areas that do remain under evacuation order. And I'm going to jump ahead here for just a moment. One of the things I've really enjoyed about this presentation is that we're going, I've said this a couple of times, I'm kind of stepping out on the edge a little bit with some of my conversations and trying to be respectful of always, but it's an opportunity to ask a question of Graham or anyone else, and they can choose not to answer the question. But I think the conversation that we need to have now, as we get out of this phase, when we look to the future, but for future emergencies, is how does the whole process work with orders when you've got agricultural producers and people who want to go see their property? And I know the answer to a lot of these questions, but I think the part of it is the conversation that we have to have as a group, a regional group, on what's the line for when you can go back to your property during an emergency to go feed your animals, for example, or water your crops. And the bottom line is, if it's not safe, if you can't guarantee the safety of someone going in, it's very, very difficult for a local authority to say go in, because you'll probably be okay and you're probably willing to risk it, because it's the local authority who then is liable for that. And also, it's not just a liability, it's a potential that somebody gets hurt. And that's really what we're trying to avoid with all of these emergencies. And we don't want people to get hurt. I'm going to wrap it up now, and it's 4:30. It's August 14th. This live stream started on Friday, and my plan was to wrap it up at 7 o'clock tonight after our 6 o'clock update. We'll transition to a different schedule now. We're moving into a new operational period where we go live for the next little while, just for 2 updates each day, unless things change. And yeah, someone said 1 death is too many. I agree with that. 1 death, we don't want anybody to get hurt, never mind anything worse. So taking care of people and making sure everyone's safe is really, really important. But then having those important conversations about what maybe other levels of government can do to help out if people are suffering. And certainly the province helps out with that ESS program. And all of what you're seeing here, when you have roadblocks and you have security and you have all the other things that need to go with it, all the support that goes along with it, there's funding for that. And so there's funding already being attributed to try and make people safe and to make sure this fire is managed and to keep everyone safe and to try and prevent loss too. I had a chance to see, I've got some video and a couple of photos that I was able to get when I was up in Summerland. And one of the things I saw was the Canada Task Force 1 setup. It's pretty impressive. It's a big setup. So I just want to make sure that it's okay for me to show that to people. And also right now is not the good time, because we're really focused on getting people back into their homes. And I think that's going to be important. I'll leave you with this. The website for the region, lots of information. Check out the map to see for what the latest alerts and orders are. The information release that you'll see with links on the District of Summerland page, the RDOS page. I will provide some information, some links to this kit. This is the very first one. It's the reentry kit for Trout Creek East. And then we'll have this kit here as well. This guide has some handy tips in it as well. And then, yeah, there's just a lot going on. Emergency support services continues. The volunteers continue to help out. We're all heading into a weekend where some of us don't know what we're doing as far as where we're staying. And we do know there are supports out there, and that's important. And yeah, we'll just watch that fire as well, because this fire is still very active. And the update we got today from Aaron was excellent. She'll be back again tomorrow. So we'll see you a little later on, but definitely at 6 o'clock for that update. So thanks for your patience. I'll leave you with a screen here that just has a bit of information on it, and we'll talk soon. Hello and welcome to the 6 o'clock update here at the Regional Emergency Operations Center. It's Friday, August 14th. Time has flown by over the last week. It's been a very busy week. My name is Eric Thompson and I'm an information officer with the EOC, the Emergency Operations Center. This is our 6 o'clock update, and operational planning is underway right now. I've just come from a meeting and one of our EOC directors will be joining us shortly, and that is Graham Stat, and the Mayor of Summerland is here and we've invited him to come in as well. What's happening right now is a very busy time because of the operational planning for the staged re-entry. So the specifics of that I'm going to defer to Graham Stat to share with you, but I wanted to talk about a few other things before we get to that while we're awaiting the arrival of Graham. Today, as you probably know, the first of that staged entry, phase 1, was Trout Creek. So that's the east side of Highway 97. Now back in their homes, many people, as the evacuation order was downgraded to an evacuation alert. But that means those homes are still on alert. It means anyone in those homes has to remember, and those properties has to be prepared that if conditions change, the status of that alert could change. But that's out of an abundance of caution, of course. You do have to follow some of the guidance that was in the reentry guide, which I think I may have left, put it somewhere. Oh, it's over here. And that reentry guide is online, and you can find it on the website. And it's really important because it has details in it that other people will need as the staged reentry continues. So keep that in mind as you prepare to return to your property. And had a chance to talk to a number of people today who were heading back home, and certainly, well, for them, it's a change. There are a lot of people, of course, who are waiting for information, and I appreciate that and understand that you're looking for details. So the specifics of the plan, as I was saying earlier, when we were on location at the temporary access pass checkpoint, that once the plans are in place and they're confirmed 100%, that's when the information will go out, because the worst thing that would happen is people get some false information that maybe they're going back and it's not ready, or plans change. I'm going to quickly go through some of the questions here and answer what I can. There's some people asking how long the power was off. I'll ask Graham Stat if he can confirm that. Also to confirm that that information will be shared directly with property owners, because I think it is very important for people. But from what I understand with Trout Creek, it wasn't any more than 24 hours. It could have been as short as 5 or 8 hours. So that's a good thing. And Mayor Holmes is here too. We'll see if Mayor Doug Holmes has any details on that. I just brought in some candy just to get through the last hour here. Mayor Holmes, thanks for coming in. I'll get you to stand here and I'll just get out of the way here. Now, on what we had heard, I'm going to grab my notes.
They give me a vest, nice little vest here.
Yeah, technically, when you're in the EOC, you're as a visitor, you wear a vest. But first of all, I think while we're happy that one area has now been returned to home, those people, we have to really be cognizant of all the other people who are watching who are not in their homes, especially those who suffered any kind of loss or damage to their property in Falder, Middle Valley, and other areas. What do you say, or what can you say to people who are waiting to go home and see that some people have now gone home?
Yeah, just a little bit, just to have a little bit more patience. It's one step at a time, and this is one more step. The highway opened yesterday. That was one step. This is one step. There's going to be, and the steps are going to come quicker and quicker, and that's everything in its good time, I guess. And it's be happy for the people who got back, and then it might be your turn next. And so
you talked to some residents today who were returning home. What kind of messages, what kind of questions do they have, if they did?
I think they were, they just people were very I think, well, obviously pleased that they were going back, but they wanted to know about garbage collection and the boil water notices that's going to be on the community for I don't know how long, but just exactly what they can and can't do, and if they're what they do with their freezers if they're no good anymore, like really practical things, and that's good. That's good. I mean, there are certain things that when you go back and your house is being locked up for a week and power off, and there's going to be some starting up, and there's ash and all that sort of stuff that needs to be cleaned up. So yeah, just really practical things.
You were telling us, you joined us on the phone earlier today from Trout Creek, and you were saying that the bears had or at least one bear was in the area.
Yeah.
But you didn't see the bear though, did you?
No, I didn't go sniffing around. And I know that I was talking to an RCMP officer a few days ago, and he was telling me how much wildlife there was in Summerland, because the wildlife are escaping the fire as well, and so they go to a place where there's no fire and where there's no people, and that happens to be right in town. Yeah. So so there's a lot of wildlife. That's one thing we have to prepare of. And actually yesterday, a woman at the evac center showed me some security camera footage from her house of all these deer running around her house, and she says we never have deer here. So there's a lot of wildlife roaming around Summerland. I'm sure my garden is decimated, but they go where the food is, and everybody who has their gardens out there is free game for them.
Got a bunch of questions coming through, and I'm not going to keep you because I know you have a tour that you're going on or an appointment you have, and I'll get to some of those questions. But if you see any that jump out at you that you've heard about, we know that the utilities, have they been restored? There will be power to homes when people are returned to home, because you can't really go into an area if you don't have power. I mean, that's not ideal, right?
Yeah, no, my understanding there's power to 90% of the town.
Yeah.
So and we're working to get it to 100.
Yeah.
Today with Trout Creek, it was a small, it's 400 properties, so it was a small amount, but it was like we wanted to use it almost as a test case, a bit of a pilot to see how it is, and it went really smoothly. The sewage treatment plant, which we were worried about because we had to bring that back up from scratch almost, and restart it from the shut off for a week. So it's responding really well. So everything's kind of responding well. And, the only kind of hiccup, so the two things is the landfill is still on fire. So we're having to make arrangements with the regional district to bring our garbage to Campbell Mountain. And hopefully that won't be for too long, but so we have to deal with that and sort that logistics out. And then the water, and we'll don't really know how long we'll be on a boil water notice.
I understand there's garbage pickup for the residents who've gone into Trout Creek, and that will take place on Saturday and Tuesday.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, we're trying to get garbage collection the day after people go in, just because there's going to be a lot of rotten meat and stuff that with the power being off that needs to be collected right away before the bears get it.
How about natural gas? Did you hear anything about that today? And I can certainly ask, these are operational questions. I'll ask Graham when he comes in, but did you hear anything? I mean, I'm assuming I would have to, you usually need those types of utilities.
That's Fortis.
Yeah.
Right. So
we'll check. We'll check with Graham. But you know what? While I've got you here, one more question for you, because this is going to come up again and again. People are going to be looking to the province to provide some supports for agricultural producers and maybe some businesses. And when we've already seen that, individuals and homes and properties that have been affected, people who've been out on evacuation order have been receiving some supports with ESS. But for those businesses and larger operations, how does that process work? Do you have to go advocate directly, or will there be grants made available specifically, do you think, or do you have to be really proactive and go and ask for it?
Well, we've already advocated for it when Premier Eby was in town. I raised that with them. Small business, support will be needed. We know our this is a huge hit for all our businesses in Summerland, and I asked Premier Eby that to look at that, and so I'm not really sure what programs are available now, but we will certainly keep on it.
Yeah. Okay, I'll let you go. I know you have to head out.
Okay.
And thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot for the time.
Very much.
Thanks for all you've been doing during this time. I know it's challenging. You've been answering a lot of questions from people, but thank you.
And they're all watching you down at the evacuation center. You're on the big screens there. People are eating their dinner and they're glued to you. So hello everybody down at the evacuation center.
I just heard from one of the other councillors from Summerland, Councillor Patton, who said that it was somebody else in here who said they were going to watch it later on and binge watch it all at once instead of he was just silly. Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it. That's the mayor of Summerland, Doug Holmes, who has been very busy during this time and on evacuation order still himself. And he has been spending a lot of time at the ESS Reception Center, the Emergency Support Services Reception Center. He's been having some having some snacks and dinner down there. So the dinner is great. So it's really nice that people get to have a nice meal because it's challenging to be out of your home, especially if your housing situation is challenging. A lot of information here, and a lot of this Graham will be able to answer. And honestly, Graham's not here right now because along with Deborah, they're in the middle of continuing the planning discussions, because this is a really important part, and I can speak to this right now, is that when you have this type of situation where there's a multitude of different issues due to the oh, you left your phone here. Due to the fire, this was a test case. So what I believe was learned is how much support people are going to need when they return home. When I say support, I mean, do you need a lot of staff there? Do they want paperwork? Do they just want to go home? There was a location at the Trail Creek Elementary School where people were able to go in there if they wanted to. They didn't have to check in, but they could go in and get the reentry guide. There were some paper copies of it made available, and this one here as well. So certainly people some people were getting those. If you're looking for that, what I was going to say, I won't respond to that comment right now. If you're looking for the information, you go to the RDOS website, rdos.bc.ca, rdos.bc.ca. All the links are there, including the link to Summerland, or you can go to the District of Summerland website, which I believe is summerland.ca. I see there's a comment here, someone saying people are suffering and cannot find shelter, and somebody's sugarcoating. I'm not really sure if you're referring to me or the mayor, but either way, by no means is anybody sugarcoating this, especially at the elected level for the mayor. He's hearing directly from a lot of people who have been directly impacted. They're sharing their story with him, and he's been shouldering a lot of that. And it's not a time to to take anything lightly, but certainly if there's any humor that comes into it, people are in need of, I think, a little bit of a light moment. And nobody is sugarcoating anything. I think this live stream, anytime anyone's come in here, they've answered the questions honestly, and we do appreciate that. Okay, Mr. Pokemon guy in the comments. So here's the deal. I've been doing this for 7 days straight, and I've stayed on the air so that I can provide honest information in a way that you probably haven't had it in a while. And I'm not doing that for any other reason other than I committed to it. So when we're on a live stream here and people want to throw out these Facebook style social media comments about they know better and they want to use all caps, I'm going to encourage you to not do that here. A lot of people are hurting and they don't want to hear negative comments. What they want to hear is actual, they want answers and information. And right now, I'm standing here live doing something that I wouldn't normally do as an information officer, because there's a chance that I give you information that's not accurate. And normally what you do, and you do this for a reason, is you gather the information and you verify it. We're in an emergency operations center. This isn't a TV talk show. It's not a business as usual. So the fact that I'm putting myself out here to give you information, I would appreciate it if you understood the fact that information is serious. It has to be verified, and before it is delivered and shared with people, it has to be approved for dissemination. There's a government term for you. And the reason that is because the moment you give information out that's not accurate and you give people false hope, then you've lost the audience. There's a communications term for you. Let's move on now and talk a bit about what we can expect over the next couple of days. Planning continues. This first phase of the staged reentry is a test case. So as I said, we're looking at, and when I say we, I'm talking about the emergency operation. The planning staff have done an amazing job. I talked about Bobby earlier and the other people he's working with. Bobby is with the District of Summerland. So they look at what types of needs come up, what information, what questions people are asking, and they pivot. So the reentry guide, again, go to the RDOS website. You'll find the links. You just have to search around. I'm not going to grab it right now because I want to keep trying to answer some of these questions. So I think, again, one of the things that was learned is people want to know about their gas, their power. They want to know about garbage collection. So Saturday and Tuesday garbage collection for Trout Creek right now. Phase 2 will continue. The hope is over the next few days that you can keep rolling through. But how that works and what it looks like is operational, and I'll have to talk to Graham Stadd about that, but he's literally in meetings working on that right now. And that's how real time this is. And that's also how much work is involved in it. When you're talking about hundreds and hundreds of people, I believe in Trail Creek, we're talking 400 properties. And what I was heartened by today was that people didn't there didn't seem to be a lot of people in there who weren't supposed to be there, and I thought that was really good. Yeah, it was really nice to see that the people who were supposed to be there were there. Now that people are back in their homes in one small area, hopefully it gives other people hope and they can get a sense of what they're going to be looking at. And many people probably know people in Trout Creek. And I want to remind you that when we're talking about Summerland, we're talking about the area. You know, we call it Summerland, just like we say the Okanagan, but Summerland is a bigger area when we talk about the greater Summerland area. So Falder Meadow Valley, Garnet Valley, all these other areas where you know, there's so many different impacts from this wildfire. So the complexity of it is that people can't go to their homes if it's not safe, and safe being a number of different things. And the other thing is if you haven't, you know, you've got areas that are connected, right? So once you open up a new area, now you've got new avenues into those other areas. So there's a new safety or security issue for each region as you open it up. So that all has to be taken into account. And part of that, as you can probably well appreciate, is the security of those homes now. And people who are not in their home want to know that there's a good safety plan, security plan in place. You know, the other part of this is that people who are out of their home are starting, it's 7 days. I feel, you know, I've not been to my house and it's been 7 days and I've been staying with friends, but that situation will change. But now, you know, what I'm trying to say is after 7 days, I'm starting to get a little tired of that. But having said that, if there's nothing we can do about it as an individual, as a homeowner, but we can get information, we can ask questions. So my focus right now is to share information about what do you do while you're waiting to go home. While we're waiting, for example, for Graham to come in here and share some information with us. And while we're waiting for the plan to roll out, what can we do so we don't feel helpless? Well, part of it is to go, why don't we do that right now? I'll go on here and just see if I'm searching the web and I want to find out where the reentry kit is. And I'm going to go to Summerland's website and start there. And we'll see real time, because I haven't looked yet because I've been out in the field. We did take this broadcast on the road today. And I thought that was actually quite interesting. We managed to, going to show you that. We had that desk there, the mobile stand-up desk. I picked up this kit here. So anybody's home, if there is any kind of issue where you need to mop things up, this thing is a kit that you can get from the Salvation Army. So I brought that as a prop, and we can look at that maybe another time. Anyway, okay, so I'm going to share screen here. We're at the District of Summerland. The reason I'm doing this is because this will give it, I left my paper copy in there. This will give us a chance to just take a look at what that website looks like when we go there. So you can see it right now. You know, another thing you're going to have to really look at when you is, you know, what is happening with your fridge. I'm going to make a note of that. I had talked previously about will homeowners know how long they've been without power? And I think I need to flag that again, because I don't know how you'll get that information, and I don't know how it's categorized, but I really do think that's important. But there's a good chance that there are properties that have been out for a while, and that reentry guide gets into some of the details on that and what you have to do. So again, I don't have a lot of specific details I can share. So what I'm trying to do is workshop with you as we're moving along what you can do to get prepared and the types of things you're going to have to deal with. Said that, those temporary access passes are still, that system is working. People are going in to deal with property and you know, commercial operations and that kind of thing. So if you're looking for one of those, you need to go through the website, fill out the form, and then you'll get a time that you can show up. And today, what I saw, that's why I wanted to go on location to the checkpoint, so I can see it for myself, and so you could see it. And if you watched earlier, the process was working well. There weren't a ton of people there, not a lot. But it was going smoothly. Everybody, you know, was being really cooperative. Even on the highway, people driving, you know, a reasonable speed as well. So as you see, when you go to the Summerland website for the District of Summerland, there's a couple of links there for the Bald Range wildfire. There's reentry, and then there's updates. Let's go to the reentry page and see what we can find. And I want to thank the staff at the District of Summerland. They've been working alongside the staff here at the regional district and some of the partners in the Emergency Operations Center. And also because they're not in their office, their city hall, they've been here working on other issues as well. And it's really been nice to interact with a lot of us know each other because, it's a small area, but that extra support that you get from each other has been working out really, really well. Okay, so information for evacuees. So the kit itself is basically designed to give you everything you need for your reentry. And let's see here where that is. I should probably get one of my coworkers in here to find that for me. Maybe not workshop this online. You know what I'll do? I'm going to just for a moment, if you don't mind, I'm going to go to the RDOS website because I'm familiar with the Emergency Operations Center setup that we have. And the idea is that they can link back and forth. So as you see right at the very top, this is great. This is how good the operation is working at people working together, is that this banner was added right there. Important announcement at the top there. That's new, and that's meant so that you don't have to look too hard to find what you're looking for. So this is the reentry status. And you know what I'm going to do, if you don't mind, I'm going to pause for just a moment because I can bring in my colleague who has been working directly on this, and I'd really like to hear a bit more because she can talk more legibly. Again, this is that part I was talking about where I'm not going to step out on the ledge and start pretending I know about something I don't. I know about the process, but I've been here, as you know, for a long time. So I'm getting information and I'm having to disseminate it. But when I can interview people who know more, I'd rather do that. And also, we were out in the field for a while today, so that took a while. But this is interesting because it talks about what reentry is. But if you can hold on just 1 second, I'm just going to get my colleague. I'll be right back. The information section's eating their dinner right now, but I've asked them to come on in and talk to us. Just want to reset here. It's 6:23 Pacific time here. People may have people watching from other parts of the country. The people who have been on evacuation order may have gone to visit family or friends. My name is Eric Thompson, and I'm in the Regional Emergency Operations Center here in Penticton, and I'm with the Regional District of Okanagan, Similkameen. On Friday, when this fire broke out, August 7th, about 5:33, I believe it was discovered, we started this live stream so that we could share information because it was evolving and moving so quickly. We had heard there were people trapped and we knew it was big. So I thought the fastest way to get information out is through this live stream. But now the live stream has continued to the point where doing it every day, all day is not sustainable, especially if we don't have brand new information. What we really want to do is make sure that we're using this platform to bring you the newest information. And not everybody wants to watch it all day long. People have been doing that, I think, as a sense of comfort only because they have it on in the background. And if something changes or something's new, we can talk about it here. And right now, really, I've talked about this a lot, but the focus is on the 2 o'clock and 7 o'clock briefings. Or excuse me, 6 o'clock, 2 o'clock and 6 o'clock. And that's what we'll do going forward. The caveat that if anything changes or we need to share something with you, we'll do that. There was a Voyant alert notification that went out, and I believe it may have, if I'm not mistaken, I wasn't in the building at the time, because I was in Summerland, but it went out, and it said that the order area that was being downgraded was for Trout Creek, so there's a comma, I believe, that was misplaced. This is what I heard a couple times now from people, east side of Highway 97. And I think some people may have taken that as Trout Creek, which, if you're not familiar with the area, covers both sides of the highway. But in fact, it's just the east side right now of Highway 97. So I just wanted to let you know that. Let's go back to, we're going to have one of my colleagues come in a moment, but the reentry it's a process that allows people to go home, and then you have to go and look at a number of things. One is flushing the water system, from what I understand. And then if there are any issues with your fridge or freezer, there's a process involved. There's information in the reentry kit, and you got to make sure you're in the right zone. And right now, if you look at what that zone looks like on Buoyant Alert, you'll see that it is, it's a yellow zone. I'm going to bring up the RDO's website again and go to the map that we have. And actually, I'm going to the wrong website. There's a link here, but it will take you to the Emergency Operations Center website. And we'll go here to the interactive map. And there should be a section now that was red that is now yellow. And that is the section that was just downgraded today for Trout Creek. And this process will continue to roll out now across the area. And here we go. So there's Trout Creek. So a little bit of red going to yellow is great. And there's Trout Creek. I mentioned earlier that that's called an alluvial fan, from what I understand. So that area right now is the area that is on alert, downgraded from an order. So as these orders are lifted, as areas become open and available for people to go back to their homes, the process will show, first of all, that map changing. You'll get a Buoyant Alert notification. The information will be posted on the websites, and we'll also provide that during updates here on this live stream at 2 and 6 o'clock daily. So re-entry supports and services stop for seniors. And it's important. This is a provincial program where you receive emergency support services, and you receive those supports when your property is on order. You do not receive those services when your property is on alert. And that is, again, it's a provincial system. So yes, the services that you might be getting, as far as getting some funding or support from the province, that will end. And, you know, if you have any questions specific to your own family, I think it's really important to know that you have to make a call possibly to Interior Health and other places. Come on in if you'd like. There's Joanne Millar, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to take this off. Actually, what I'll do, Joanne, if you want to come on in, I'll introduce you. This is Joanne Millar, and she is one of the information officers working in here. Today, she's what we call the section lead, and she has been for a few days and doing a great job, I must say.
Thank you.
I know there's a lot going on. There was a comment here about someone being a bit concerned about the Buoyant Alert notification. I think it can upset people. The Buoyant Alert system is meant to be a critical notice so that they know it's there, because people have said, I don't want to miss that. But anyway, I don't want to get in your way. I'll let you talk about what you have to say on this re-entry, where we can find it. I couldn't find it on the District of Summerland page, but
yeah, I'll talk everybody through it. Happy to do that. We've been working behind the scenes. As you know, we're working hand in hand. The regional EOC with the District of Summerland employees, where our desks are an arm's length away from each other. District of Summerland website. The nice thing is they've put 2 banners across the main page of the RDOS website. So you'll see one red banner, and it's for the Bald Range Wildfire general information, and that's a red banner. Underneath that, there's a green banner, and it says Bald Range Wildfire Reentry. That's the one you want to click. They tried to make it front and center with those banners. It's excellent. When you click on that banner, that green banner for reentry, it will take you to a web page with some information. And then near the bottom of that page, you'll see a link, and it says Trout Creek, east of Highway 97, where you can, here, Eric's pulling it up here.
go for it.
So as you scroll down, thanks, Eric. It's nice to have an assistant here. Here, how do I scroll down here? Oh, there we go.
You know what I'm going to do, if you don't mind. Graham's stat is here. And
Oh,
I'd like to
Graham,
take-
am I getting bumped for
No,
Graham? Oh my goodness.
No, you've got a couple minutes. I just want to let you know.
I'm
as
just
soon as-
joking.
as soon
I'm
as you're
trying to
done-
make Eric laugh.
I laughed. I was nervous. I thought you were mad. No, as soon as you wrap this up, I'm going to ask Graham to come in, and then he does literally have to get back to planning. But
Okay,
this is important
awesome.
because people know where to.
Yeah,
people
we're
know where to
almost
find
there.
it. Yes,
So
sorry to
this,
interrupt.
you're all good. So this green banner is the reentry webpage. And you can see down at the bottom, it says Trout Creek, east side of Highway 97, reentry information. And in brackets, it talks about some things you're going to find there. And it's an address list. A lot of people want to see their address on there, the map, and the reentry guide. And that's the big one. So we're going to click on that. And you're going to see on here, there is the map. As we go down, you can click on that and it will enlarge. As we go down further, this is the guide, and this is, people have been working night and day for days to put this together into the wee hours this morning. The graphics look beautiful. Everyone's so happy to get some handed to them in person. You can look on this. I just think you put this when you get to be re-entered. This is on your coffee table. It's got everything you need to know. If you click on it, you're going to see, let's see what shows up. Here we go. There is table of contents. Anyways, you can go and scroll down. This is where to go on the District of Summerland website. Again, on the main page, you're going to see the two banners. You're talking about things like food safety, solid waste. There's going to be some extra pickups. It talks about those dates. Everything you need to know on reentry should be on there. Of course, there's always numbers and emails to contact if you're not sure.
There's a question there about how do you get to the banners. Basically, you go to summerland.ca.
Yes, summerland.ca. Let's see if we can go back. So it's just www.summerland.ca. And that is the main page. And this is what it looks like again. So Bald Range Wildfire is the red tab for regular updates, not regular, but just the main updates. And the green tab underneath, you can see it, Bald Range Wildfire Reentry. That is the one you want for reentry. And again, all that information is contained on this link. As more and more communities are allowed to be re-entered, you're going to see that list grow. There'll be another link below for that next area with a title, and you'll be able to click on those links. For the RDOS website, I just wanted to share, we have a red banner along the top that talks about reentry information. On our website, you're going to click that, and then you'll see a tab for Trout Creek. And because when you click on it, it's going to take you to the Summerland website where all this information is housed, because they really are the true owners of this reentry. And as those new communities come that get re-entered, we're going to add links to ours. So you're going to be getting the same information, whether you come to the RGOS website or the District of Summerland website. We're working in unison to make sure it's uniform information and we're doing it cohesively.
Joanne, before you go, I think what's really important is that this is the first phase of that kit. So there's no reason new information can be added as new areas are downgraded from that order to alert. And we learned today that there's 400 properties in Trout Creek, that there were maybe some questions that were specific to that area. But some of these things, some of the information is like, for example, garbage pickup on Saturday and Tuesday. So as you release a new area, that type of information might not necessarily be in there, but it'll be made available to people.
Well, actually, this is the amazing work that's being done behind the scenes. The District of Summerland staff is going to make a unique version of that guide for every area.
Excellent.
They know exactly the couple things in there that are going to be unique for that community, and you will find that information specific to where you live. And so this is the extent of the work, and really thinking about every single resident that comes back, that information in that guide will be specific to you. So you can see those differences, and it can be updated as we go along, but it's in a pretty good state.
Joanne, I think what's great about this information section now is as we move out of this first 7-day period where the immediate emergency was being dealt with, and now we're already looking at reentry, is that we can bring people in like yourself. Tracy joined us, but she's going back to CSRD. We've got some others, including Kate as well, who works with us. So it's nice to bring in some different voices. You can start, because you're obviously passionate about this. You work directly on it. So I think to be able to explain this to people and make sure they have what they need is excellent. So great work on this. You team from Summerland and from the RDOS and the others who worked on it.
Thank you, Eric. Okay, well, we're here for anyone that has questions, and we'll keep working hard to make this as I know it's not simple, it's so complex, but as user-friendly as possible for everybody. Thank you, Eric.
Thanks for the update. That was excellent. So I'm going to bring Graham Stad in just a moment. So Graham is one of the regional the Regional Emergency Operations Center directors. He's also the CAO of Summerland. We've spent a lot of time together here in my office recently. You know, we brought the Premier in once just to have a different look, and that was short-lived. But no, it was nice that the Premier was able to join us. I'm just going to share that screen so we can see you. There you go. Okay, so you're having a refreshment. You've been busy working on the staged re-entry. We started with phase 1 today. What can you tell us about where we're at now and what some of the key concerns are to make sure you get people into their homes?
Yeah, so overall success today, and as we talked about, it wouldn't be perfect, and it wasn't perfect, but it went off pretty well. You know, perfection is the enemy of good, as they say, and so our preference is to keep rolling with good enough as long as the safety is perfect. And so the next areas are now identified. We're working on plans, getting final details there. We're going to start moving quickly. Obviously, there's going to be areas in the community that can't move quickly. And that's where the mixed emotion really comes in today. So great to see families, going home, but there's people in the regional district here who aren't going to be going home for a long time or don't have a home. And that's hard. I think we just need to pause and recognize that. Next steps is really on that reentry actions now, as the planning is come so far. We have our Canada Task Force 1 now has completed about 90% of the damage assessments, and the community data is being shipped to us, and that's going to allow us now to look at the detail damage assessments and other information. We can start to process that, contact people, be able to show what we feel we can show, and give people a better idea of what that looks like. We just don't actually have that data in our hands at the moment, but hopefully later tonight.
I see a bunch of questions coming up in the chat. We'll get to those in just a few moments. I see that you saw there's a typo there. That's great. I'll remind the team and let them know. There was a question about how far the fire is from Penticton, and I think this is an important reminder that as we've gone through this live stream, we've talked about who's responsible for what. BC Wildfire Service is the lead agency on the wildfire, and if you go to that website, you're going to get the latest information that's available, and that mapping is updated as that information becomes available, and it often involves aircraft. So if you're not getting that immediate update, that means that that's the latest data that it's available. If anything changes, if there's a change in that fire behavior that causes any kind of concern where it could lead to an expanded evacuation order, we will let you know immediately through Voyant Alert as that information comes from BC Wildfire Service. So Graham, I've talked about this extensively, and I just want to be clear on this, that dates and times of the next staged reentry, the next phase 2, and then phase 3, moving through, that information will be available as soon as it's confirmed. And you're literally continuing to compile the data and continuing to develop the plans so that that can roll out and continue.
Yeah, we've got, we're not ready to speak to it yet, but we have our next several areas ready to go from our perspective, in sequence, and we will be now moving with some speed in doing that. Again, as we talked about yesterday, trying to balance out our reentry with, our security ability with RCMP, with, more and more access points as we enter people into other areas, get a bit of a Swiss cheese kind of scenario you're managing. And of course, the wastewater system, wanting to balance that out with its ability to absorb the nutrients.
Are you looking at introducing or lifting the orders or downgrading the orders on smaller areas faster, or larger areas, and maybe that takes a bit more time? Is there a focus? Is that even a
faster?
Larger areas faster. So as opposed to just, okay, that's interesting. And that's that. The idea is get as many people back into their homes as possible. But with the contingency that the security is going to be an issue, if you go too fast, excuse me, you don't want to release a bunch of areas, and then all of a sudden the areas behind there or outside of that area could be impacted.
I just want to say something.
Go ahead.
And I don't know the best way to say this, and I probably put my foot in my mouth a lot of times already on this thing, but what did they say? There's a proverb: a closed mouth gathers no feet. But I'm going to open my mouth anyway. We don't want to be in the way. Government is sometimes the best thing for government is to get out of the way. We know that, but we have a duty that we have to meet for public safety, and that's what we're trying to meet to make sure that we've achieved that duty, which is a sacred duty that we owe the public, and then we want to get out of the way. And that's our approach in terms of opening up larger areas faster.
So excellent point. And someone has just commented on that. The community has the ability to help with security. And I believe that is true.
It's happening also with Citizens on Patrol and others. Yeah, that's happening now. And if you want to volunteer for that, they'd love to take your name.
Are you talking to me? Because I was going to volunteer to do that.
You work here 24/7. You're not going in. You can watch this place if you like.
They won't come in because the lights are still Okay, and again, we're not trying to make light of anything, but it's been a long 7 days, so it's okay to have a laugh right once in a while. But anyways,
Also, another thing, and I'm interrupting, and I know,
no, not at all. I want to hear what you had to say.
I don't want to lead the question, this thing, but I want to be 100% clear of something that's really significant shift in the last couple days on a lot of, and it's been a week, but in the beginning, it was a lot about BC wildfire and what's safe and hotspots around. When we talk about the broader RDOS impact of this area, there certainly is still wildfire risk in some of the areas, definitely in periphery in the west, some parts of the north, south. But Summerland proper, when we talk about re-entering Summerland, as it were, I'm feeling a lot better and better from a BC wildfire perspective. The risk has decreased based on data that I've seen. But what the issue is the systems aren't ready entirely, and there's other safety issues and security issues we have to manage as well. And you'll see if you're looking on that website and the reentry criteria that are on there, those are a lot of factors that we have to verify. But from a wildfire risk, it's looking better and better for Summerland proper.
Yeah, that's a really good point. But I like what you said earlier, that government has a duty that you can't ignore. And while you could easily say, yeah, let's let everybody go into all those areas, the moment someone gets hurt, or the moment if the fire does change in those areas, as you said, on the outskirts, if it changes. We spoke today with Erin Catherall from BC Wildfire Service for our 2:00 update, and she's back, by the way, tomorrow at 2:00. And she was talking about the instability of the winds, and you could feel it outside. That's why it was great to actually get outside. But you could feel it 1 minute to the next. It was changing, it seemed. So you're right. The wildfire risk is changing, not necessarily decreasing. Some areas it is, but with this rollout, what can people expect then? For example, if there's a change in the evacuation order for their neighborhood, they're able to go back. They'll receive that voyant alert, and I think for some people it can be jarring. You get your phone, it's a text, but the system's designed so you know that it's
gets your attention.
Yeah, so that's what they'll get first is a voyant alert, and then it goes out through the system on the website, social media, and then if we're broadcasting here at 2:00, we'll have that update, and 6:00 as well. But the information won't be released before everything is ready, and you're getting close and you're making plans. And right now, from what I understand, you're working on the next few areas, and then we're working ahead of those. Like you're always working a few steps ahead to be ready. Mm-hmm. And then learn.
And every area is going to be different in terms of the status of its readiness. So that the readiness of every area is very different based on not only fire impacts, but tertiary impacts of fire and utility and other considerations. And then we're going to line all those up, and every one of those areas is going to be a little different. And entry packages will probably say different things to people and have some customization based on the area they're going into.
Excellent. That's good to know. And I think that's a really good approach, as opposed to having one booklet or one guide for each, for the entire area. So, and what you can do too is, as you're preparing the booklet or the guide for the next area, you can adjust it. If you've learned something, there was a spelling mistake, we can fix that. The guide itself is going to, the next version of that guide for the next neighborhood will be informed by what you learned today. This evacuation order was downgraded at about 10 after 12, I think it was, or 20 after, whatever time it was. Off the top of your head, did you learn anything that you didn't know, or is there any facts or anything you took away from today? I know one part. I'm going to jump in. I'm going to answer that question for you.
I've got one. Maybe it's the same one.
I'm going to ask and answer that question. No, simply it was that a lot of people didn't want to go to the school necessarily and check in and get the reentry kit. They just wanted to go to their house.
Yeah, and that's. I'm glad you said that, because our intent all along was more for the school, and I think, sort of on our end, fog of war and trying to go quickly, but I think our intent was always sort of the school would be, if someone said, I really need a hard copy and I have specific questions, maybe I don't have access to a computer, I don't have a smartphone, I want a hard copy of the package, that the school would be a place where they could go. But we really wanted to get everything online, people could look at it. That's the reentry you get in there. It's a pretty simplified reentry overall. So, whether that is going to be necessary in the next one to have some presence and hard copies available, or we do something more simple, maybe that's a learning. I guess the learning for me, maybe it was a validation, was, we talked about the other day, your faith in media and my faith in humanity. Faith in humanity's validated. I mean, we trusted people to do things in an orderly fashion, be responsible. The people that want to go back are there. The people that can't or won't aren't. They have the information they need. They're reaching out if they don't have the information. And I think that shows for the next ones, and we said that justified taking maybe what might have been smaller areas and going sequentially and making some larger areas that run around a little more quickly because of the learnings and the validation of people are really working well together with us.
And my faith in media has been proven in that what they're doing is taking this information from these live streams and turning it into stories, using it as actual information. A lot of times what will happen with local government, especially during an emergency, is the only actual quotes you will get will be based on an information release. And in this case, because we are talking on a live stream, it's quotable. Let's talk can we be honest for a moment, which we've been very honest, but I think I saw a comment that had a good point. So if someone was to say, what is phase 2? We know that there's no timeline. We don't know the exact date. It's not confirmed. They probably have a good idea what they think is area 2 and area 3. You can't necessarily say it's going to be this area as number 2, because that area could expand or contract based on those factors on the ground. That's the challenge, isn't it?
I can't say what stage 2 is, but I will say if you're in stage 2, don't go too far for the weekend.
Yeah. And people know what stage 2 is. That information is out there, I believe.
We don't know we haven't told people what the next stage is in terms of reentry.
Yeah. And again, this is not playing coy or it's not teasing anything. It's a matter of the minute, I've used this example before. If we were to say the highway is going to open, we think it's going to open at noon, and it doesn't open at noon. It opens at 4 because something happened. There was a change, whatever that might have been. People weren't ready.
Yeah.
Then you've upset people, and I always say you've lost the room because you gave misinformation.
If I could do stage 2 tomorrow, I would. We just can't. There's some things that we've got to wrap up here, and it might not be wrapped up in the next few days, but we're working hard at wrapping those things up to be ready. And
those things are operational, and I think you've been very clear about what they are. And there's a multitude of different issues. Graham, I'm going to let you go. I know you have a lot of work to do, and I really appreciate the fact that you give this time to this live stream to be honest with the answers and the information you have available.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
I'm hoping in the future, just so you know, now that we're getting into reentry, I haven't even talked to you about this, and now even the communications professional is getting a surprise.
I'm going to take some notes here. What am I in for?
So, how do you like it, right? But I'm going to try to get to a place where we're getting some more details.
Okay.
I've been asking for some information today about how much of the electrical system was actually damaged. Now we get our damage assessment. How much is restored? What's the timeline on the remainder? Water system, how many people evacuated, how many are people back in, and maybe I'll be able to speak to that in greater detail. I think people want the detail, they deserve the detail. We're working hard to prepare detail now that we're into reentry. And in a perfect world, if we can find some capacity to do it, maybe we can create an online even dashboard or something. And I haven't talked to anyone else about that except the people on this screen.
And I've heard secondhand now from them.
You heard secondhand, yeah. So.
That's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. Somebody was asking on chat, and we talked about it. Are you able to provide information to these communities about how long the power was out in their area? How will they get that information?
Yeah, this is a great question. So it came up on a coordination call we had earlier today. So first of all, I asked again, and I was told that we do have that information. So I'm feeling comfortable the information is available. What we have to do is close that circle in terms of, okay, so if we have the information, we though being also the people that are restoring power throughout the community because it's the electric utility, how can I get that information from the electric utility to a place where we can close the circle where people can access the information that they have about the knowledge of that power? So we're trying to work on that right now. And it's important because even in the reentry materials for Trout Creek, I know we put, if in doubt, throw it out and all this, but this many hours, it's okay. Well, how do they know how many hours it's been? So we're really working on that right now. Could I have closed that circle and waited till next week for Trout Creek? I could have, but I decided in consultation with the smart people around here, let's just move forward and we'll try and close the circle on that, how people can access that information with working with the electric utility.
And I know it's hard for all the areas, but for Trout Creek, it was the estimate anywhere from 5 to 8 hours, or is that's not confirmed, so we can't really say that, right?
Well, and the interesting thing about this, and so my assumption, even a few days ago, where we had sort of like our paint by number thing, that generally in these neighborhood areas, if you want to call them that, large chunks of the community, let's just say lower town, things that we call, Prairie Valley, if we all know the names of these sort of areas, Trout Creek. I thought, okay, what happened would be probably pretty similar across that whole neighborhood area when it came to something like power. It's probably pretty similar in terms of what happened with wastewater, and probably pretty similar in what happened with water.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're finding out when we're going in there is that's not actually the case. So even though we're turning on, we're like lighting up maybe a whole area, we're finding out in that area there in some cases certain breakers were tripped because of the craziness that was happening with the electrical facility and the fire. And so other things were damaged and parts of the circuit up here that affected down there. So like parts of different areas are affected in different ways. So I can't say all of Trout Creek was only off for 2 hours.
Yeah.
We're finding that there's different numbers for depending on which part of neighborhood you live in, and that's the harder part of getting this.
And the comments in the chat are always interesting, because I think we've created a bit of a false expectation that every bit of data that is possibly out there should be shared. But when you say you thought you knew one thing and it turned out to be another thing, that's why you don't share information. It's not because you're trying to hold it back. It's because it's not confirmed. Confirming information out of an emergency operations center is different than day-to-day operations. It's important, and people need the data to be confirmed.
A big difference. So I'll come back to my brigadier general that I worked for. Quote, he told me one time, from a perspective of the military, data doesn't become intelligence until it undergoes analysis.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of data actually coming in. That data doesn't actually mean anything by way of intelligence of the issue until it undergoes analysis. And the analysis is what we're doing, and that does take time. Because like I said, some of the people we need to talk to, if you take the electrical utility, for example, Summerland has its own electric utility, they're literally working in shifts running 24/7 to restore power. So I can pull those people off, and I am to talk to them about how do we get better understanding to get that analysis. But it's taking away also from the recovery.
Yeah.
So that's the balance we're trying to achieve.
I know you've got to go. I just saw one comment, and it seems like an easy one, so let's just end it right there.
Sure.
And why not Trout Creek West as opposed to Trout Creek East for this particular stage?
So there are reasons. I don't want to get into all those reasons right now because they're rather involved. But I will say that it's in the early horizon for future steps.
Graham, thanks for all your time. I appreciate it. I know you've got to get back to work and you probably have a late night in front of you, but thanks for all your work. I really appreciate it. Thanks for your candor. Graham Stat is one of the Emergency Operations Center directors. You know what we've done here, this is we're getting close to the closing. I'm going to wrap it up at 7 o'clock. What we've done here together as a community with this live stream, and I say we because I've been the host because I was given that opportunity and I asked for that opportunity. And I think a lot of people might not want that opportunity because it's been very, very challenging. I've had to ride a fine line between being honest and at times emotional. I've given everything I got. I'm done at 7 o'clock. I'm going to head out. And the funny thing about that, it's not even funny, is I'm not done. I'm going to stop talking on the air, but now my real work begins. I'll be here for a while getting ready for what's going to be phase 2 and phase 3. And then other people will come in tomorrow and they'll get work on all of those things. So we have provided an opportunity as a community to share information back and forth and to make sure that the questions you have some honest answers attached to them. Graham, right now, the answers he just provided to us and the data he just provided to us is coming in real time. It's balancing what has been confirmed with what is operational to give you the very latest information. And I think that's really important. It's a unique opportunity. And I think for people around the province who might be watching in other areas, they're going to say, when an incident happens in our community, how do we manage the information flow so that people are getting real-time information that's confirmed? But the key part of it is, and why we started this was because there was a major wildfire that was threatening lives and threatening communities. And the fastest way to get that information out was to turn on the camera and go online for those who have access to online and talk about it so that you're getting information that says you need to get out and go from there. And now we're starting to get to that recovery phase. I mean, we're in the recovery phase because people are going home. So those people who've gone home, well, you should, or you can be happy for them, and you're probably frustrated that you can't go home. There's just so many factors involved that local government isn't in the business of taking risks with people's lives or with their safety, because there are problems with that. And I know that people will say, well, they're not worried, they'll go do their own thing. And many people have. But what you don't want is another evacuation order one day and people say, well, I'm not going to leave because if I leave, then I can't come back when I want to. And if that leads to any bad situations or people get hurt or worse, then that's certainly not helpful. But anyway, we've done a lot here. Let's focus on the positive. I was going to show you some pictures of what the kids did. You know what I'm going to do? Can you hold on a second? I don't have right now a lot of time to fiddle with the computer where I'm going to bring up a picture. I'm just going to go pull it off the wall and show you, and I'm going to leave you with that because this live stream is going to wrap up at 7-ish. And then I'm going to head out and do the work I have to do. Tomorrow, my colleague Tracy Hughes from the Columbia Shuswap Regional District will be here to host a 2 o'clock update and a 6 o'clock update. Unless things change, she'll get on the YouTube stream and talk to you about what it is. But hopefully, it's just a simple 2 o'clock and 6 o'clock update. Throughout the day, though, there's also the opportunity that any new information comes in will go out through the Buoyant Alert. But just hold on a second. I want to end on a high note. That was a long pause. Some great pictures, and one that I got. Good night. Okay, I'm composed. I just wanted to say goodnight and thank you for all your feedback. It's been great.